In our first story, Cabinet will on Thursday consider a report that seeks to control the siting of gas and fuel stations in unauthorized places across the country. And this comes to the fore when the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, visited the scene of the atomic junction explosion, which so far is reported to have claimed 7 lives. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo said needed legislation is required to put an end to such occurrences in the future.
The gas explosion last Saturday is suspected to have been caused by a leaking tank that was offloading gas into a container at the fuel station. The president, who was taking round the disaster site, was later briefed by the energy minister and the chief executive officer of the National Petroleum Authority, Hassan Tampoli.
The forecourt was too busy for an LPG station. So in the event of an explosion, most likely we are going to have more casualties. And secondly, we also indicated to them that they need to have enough and visible signs on the forecourt so that everybody who comes to the forecourt will be able to at least see the sign and then adhere to them. The last thing which we indicated to them also was to the effect that customers get too close to the point of refill. So they need to get a reserve area where customers will have will rest and then have the cylinders refilled. We followed up with another visit sometime in July, and they had corrected some of them, except the bit about the decongestion. So there was a taxi rank around, trotro drivers could discharge passengers and pick passengers from there. There were commercial activities, very vibrant commercial activities, that to a very large extent had reduced. Additionally, they were not required to do discharge beyond 6 p.m. And the preliminary information that we have received suggested that the discharge was going way into the night. So that made it difficult for us to be able to contain the situation. But by and large, because the place was decongested, we would have recorded more casualties, but for the fact that they had complied with those compliance letters that we sent to them.
The president thanked the response team made up of the police, fire service and NADMO for their swift response, but called for a new direction to deal with the siting of gas and fuel stations.
We have to thank you for the prompt response. I wasn't here, I was in the north, but the vice president came immediately afterwards, and I was told about how promptly all of you had responded. The nation is grateful to you for that. I think that really this thing is beyond firefighters, with respect. It has to do with the policies we have to put in place that such things don't occur again. And that is a matter for us. We should be dealing with that. I feel very strongly about this. It can't continue. It can't continue.
Deputy Director of the National Disaster Management Organization, Abu Ramadan, tells JoyNews there is a fierce resistance from some stakeholders towards implementation of a report on how to address siting of gas and fuel stations in residential areas.
It's been a report the ministry has been working on for the past 5.5 months. They've only faced resistance from some few organizations, but from what the minister tells us...
Resistance like what exactly?
Resistance as to they wouldn't allow that policy to survive, that document they're working on to come to light because it doesn't inure to their benefit, as you may call it, a section of the petrochemical industry workers. And I think the minister says now he thinks they are coming around, particularly with this incident. I told him, I said, I don't believe they won't support a move of that nature. They should find a way of fitting themselves into it. And I hope the Ghanaian people would rally support behind us so that we're able to implement that policy that we are sending to Cabinet for approval.
Meanwhile, the police says investigations are still ongoing to establish the cause of the fire. DSP Sheila Bachman is Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Police Service.
We opened traffic from Hacho to the Atomic Roundabout. This evening, we are anticipating that traffic would move from the Atomic Roundabout towards Hacho. And so we are going to open traffic to one-way direction. As I informed you in the morning, we agreed with the authorities of the University of Ghana to use their access routes that would have otherwise not been open to the public. And so they have still, we are still in that collaboration. And so Legon routes will also be there as part of the roads that have been diverted to allow traffic to flow in town.
So, meaning the access route will be one, not the entire stretch?
Yes, on this particular road, it will be one way, and the direction will be from the Atomic roundabout towards Hachu.
Yeah. Now, how soon do we expect persons who have their items around here to be able to come and take them up and go home?
That is why we are still on the ground, together with all the other partners. The technical team that must do all these things are doing that. You saw registration starting or continuing all throughout the day. And so whenever we have clearance that people who ply their trade here can come and continue their lawful existence, you will announce it.
Meanwhile, the Ghana National Fire Service has dismissed reports that a spark from a nearby kebab seller caused the explosion at the Atomic Junction on Saturday. Director in charge of public relations, Billy Anaglate of the service, in an interview with JoyNews, said several factors must be considered before an accurate report could be given of the actual cause of the explosion.
To determine the cause of the fire should be left for the technical people to determine what exactly the cause is. And a situation when there is emergency, people troop to the area have always been one of the biggest challenges when we have emergency at hand that we want to handle. Because the second explosion was what even caused some of those people who rushed in after the first explosion. And some of them who are injured for now should not have even been injured had it not been that they rushed to the scene. So it is proper and important that in case of emergency, people should not get to the scene. They should allow us to continue to do our work.
You talked about people speculating about the cause of the fire. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, that is wrong. I saw on the social media they were saying that it was even a kebab seller who has caused that. Of course, as much as a fire from the kebab seller within the vicinity could cause it, but there are other indicators that you need to look at. You need to determine the distance of the kebab seller. You need to determine the velocity of the wind, the direction of the wind, the concentration of the gas, and then to know if really indeed that gas could cause it. So having a kebab seller just around is not enough for anybody to conclude on that.
So at this moment we should stop discussing.
People should stop discussing the causes of the fire. We are investigating. By the close of this week, we'll definitely come up with what exactly caused it.
But usually when investigations like this take place, we don't get to see the report. June 3 has been there 2 years. No one knows the exact cause of it. So it will leave people to speculate.
Well, definitely the report will be submitted to our sector minister, the interior minister, and I believe strongly that he's going to let the media know of it. He will not keep it. I know he would definitely inform the media about the cause of it.
How sure are we if June 3, which was one of the major disasters we suffered?
And I'm giving the assurance because I know he will do that.
Well, let's move away from fires. And fishermen and farmers whose livelihoods have been negatively affected by the oil fine will soon receive support. The Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, the GNPC, says it will facilitate credit and market access to affected persons. The General Manager for Sustainability for the GNPC, Dr. Kwame Banyako, says it is part of the corporation's local content agenda for the oil industry.
Expectations have been high among Ghanaians for enhanced economic development following oil discovery. In the midst of this, some local enterprises, especially at the micro level, have suffered loss of space. Dr. Banyako says there's intervention for individuals and groups under the Economic Empowerment module of the GNPC Foundation.
Looking to support the fishermen and the farmers within the catchment area of the GNPC's economic activities, support their economic livelihood without shifting them into oil and gas. So if he's a farmer, how do we improve his livelihood for him to feel that he is also benefiting from the oil money? Otherwise, very soon they'll turn into Ogoni land and then start chasing all of us out of the place. So we felt that we needed to be proactive rather than being reactive. So the economic empowerment team will be focusing on helping these farmers with access to credit, access to markets, and the things that will improve their livelihoods. Likewise, the fishermen as well.
Meanwhile, GNPC is supporting KNUST to rehabilitate its sanitation structures within public spaces of the university. Vice-Chancellor Professor Kwesi Obidans received a check for the amount at a ceremony in Kumasi.
We sent a formal proposal not only did we send a formal proposal on these washrooms, we also added another proposal on STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. What we said was that they could also support some of our needy but intelligent students to be able to afford university education. That would go a long way to at least help the country develop more talents who hitherto could not have been able to afford university education. So the first proposal, which was on the STEM, luckily they have supported close.
For JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
About 95% of research work in Ghana is funded by foreign sources. Research scientist, the Reverend Professor Hans Edudapa, describes the trend as a sad reflection of Ghana's research outlook. The former director of Crop Research Institute says many of such studies have been put on hold due to a cut in donor funding. He was speaking at the 20th Pearson Osai Appreciation Lectures of the Prempeh College in Kumasi.
Professor Edudapa's topic was accepting and rejecting genetically modified organism or GMO foods, implication for food security. Research institutions have a major role to play in the economic development of the country. They transfer knowledge into economic growth and employment generation ventures. Unfortunately, lack of funds have stifled such initiatives in Ghana. Professor Edudapa says until funding challenges are adequately addressed, the country's development will stagnate.
About 95% of the research we do, even conventional, is funded from outside. So Ghana, we need to put our money where our mouth is. Otherwise, oh yes, I must confess. There are varieties that are very good. We don't have money to produce the breeder seed. He doesn't have money to produce foundation seed.
Though Parliament passed the Biosafety Act in 2011, experts say there are no locally approved genetically modified crops in the country. The Council for Scientific and Industrial Research is currently undertaking trials on genetically modified cowpea. Commercialization is expected to be ready in 2018 after the trials. Professor Edudapa appeals to private sector to invest in the council's work.
And there are Ghanaians who are very rich who can support this. In fact, I've been told that the cotton project is on hold because there's no money.
The Pearson Osai Appreciation Lectures brings together old students of Prempeh College to discuss economic development. This year's edition was organized by the 77-year group. Deserving and accomplished individuals were honored at the ceremony. For JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
We still have to remain in Kumasi, where 4 more bodies have been retrieved from the Offing River, bringing the death toll in last Saturday's canoe accident to 5. The bodies of 2 children, aged 8 months and 10 years, were among the 4 retrieved on Monday. Love FM's Erastus Asaridonko, who has been monitoring events, reports 1 person was still missing.
The water level of the Offing River is still rising as rescuers search for the last victim in Saturday's canoe tragedy. The bodies of 2 girls were retrieved in the early hours of the day.
Behind me, bodies of 2 children, one 8 months, the other 10 years. These are girls. Their bodies have just been found. They were traveling with their mothers across the river Offing to their farms when the canoe they were on capsized after hitting something that has not been described yet. It's been 3 days. Divers have combed the entire Offing for them. This morning they had some luck and their bodies are covered with leaves over here. Due to that, to my right is the Madina LA Primary School. Children have been asked to stay home because of this.
After going a mile into the river, we found the older girl and later got the baby. On our way back, we could sense some stench under a tree in the river. We were sure some of the bodies are locked up there, but we couldn't bring them out. We are not done yet. We will go back for them.
Mother of the two children, Alex and Olivia Mensah, is in a state of shock. Mrs. Mensah survived the tragedy on the River Ofin but had to watch as the river carried away her 8-month-old baby and 10-year-old daughter.
Some people in it jumped into the river. It then capsized. After getting to a tree nearby, I held it tightly and later realized my baby was not at my back. I was gripped with fear. I was shaking.
Amada, a quiet farming community, has been thrown into a state of mourning. 2 more bodies, that of the father, Wofayao, 45, and his son, Ura, 21, were retrieved later this afternoon. Regional Minister Simon Osei Mensah, who distributed life jackets, attributed the incident to the effects of illegal mining in the area.
To me, I'll sum it up that the cause is the result of Galamsey. You realize that the people were doing this illegal mining here, and the waterway is even blocked. And during flooding, you cannot even identify where, due to the illegal activities of the Galamsey people, they've heaped some sand, and then it hit. I strongly believe it hit one of them, and then the person could not control. That is why we've seen what we are seeing. When we are coming, I asked myself, is this the extent of damage Galamsey has caused this country? If I could have my way, even the ban should be there for 1 year until we find proper solution to the Galamsey menace. The district chief executive and the member of parliament, together with the regional coordinating council, we will look at the possibility of acquiring 1 or 2 plastic canoes for them. I think that is safer to some extent.
Reporting for JoyNews, Erastus Asaridonko, Love FM, Kumasi.
We have a lot more news as we review the newspapers and look at a lot more stories on the various online portals. Of course, we have to go to our own majoonline.com. Please get interactive on Facebook, JoyNews on TV. We also have a handle at JoyNews on TV. Personally, we have handles and, of course, our pages on Facebook, Twitter, and wherever you want to find it. But we have a channel on YouTube. It's very important because we tend to upload a lot more of the segments of the AM show and other programming on the channel on Major Online TV. Please go look for it on YouTube.